Hello, my name is Lucas. This is a bit of lit. And it is the My Favorite Fiction Books tag, which was just a video by Olive over at her channel, weaponized in a fascist way by Steve Donahue to make a tag that should be actually very interesting. The stipulations for it are unique in a way, very particular about what he expects, and I'm here to provide. It was actually quite difficult for me to complete this tag because let me explain the rules and then I will explain why it was difficult for me. The rules. First, list 10 novels. Easy enough. Rule number 2, all of them should be from the 21st century. And this is where I run into problems. I have not read that many 21st century books. I've read a lot of 20th century, a lot of 20th century. I was looking through all the books that I've read. And this provided problems. I had read more than 10, but I did want to have different authors or sort of different themes if it's part of some kind of series in some way, to make it a little more interesting. So that sort of posed a problem. And rule number 3, no canonical classics. And, I figure if it's in the 21st century, only time can tell what will be in the canon, in that sense. And rule number 4, your number one choice must actually be your number one choice for all the books, where 10 through 2 can be whatever you want them to be. There's no rhyme or reason to that ordering, which is where I'm going to make my claim that the books that I'm going to talk about, it does not say that I have to like these books, right? It just says that my number one, the one I say is number one, has to be my number one favorite. And the other ones, as far as I read the rules, they can be whatever, whatever I want. And I've got some bad books for you, and also some great books. And another rule to make it this sort of interweaved, connected tag, which I think makes it more fun. You should, one of your 10 must be linked in some way to someone else's list, preferably, from my understanding, from the person you saw it from, and I saw it from Steve because he started it. And so I figure, okay, this is what I'm going to do. And it doesn't have to be the same book. It could be the same author or same theme of some kind. So there's that. I'll leave all the information here, and then I will start my list. And we've got a lot of bad books. I'm doing this sort of in order of terrible and insulting to my top 21st century book. And we're already almost 4 minutes in, so let's actually start talking about books, not rules. Number 10. This is at the bottom of the list, okay, for good reason. I don't recommend this book. It is The Road by Cormac McCarthy, Pulitzer Prize winning trash. I hate it. I read it. When I initially read it, I actually did like it because I liked how sort of poetic it was, and I liked the way the prose was styled. And then I started talking to people on BookTube and seeing what people thought about it, and really examined it through other people's eyes, and then I watched the movie, and I realized I despise this book and this movie and the story, because for many, many reasons. The style is ridiculous. and it just doesn't work. And it's just so, like, misogynist in so many ways. I think the worst part is that it's got this sense of you should only think about yourself in a crisis, an ongoing crisis in this post-apocalyptic world, which is not explained. Yeah, it's a bad book, and I hate the self-absorption of it. I thoroughly despise this book. You should care about everyone, okay? Not just yourself. Anyway, I can understand caring about yourself a little bit more than other people, okay? But the conceit of this novel is that you should care exclusively about yourself, never mind anybody else, because that is obviously how everybody responds, and that's how everyone should respond to something like this. Anyway, it's a terrible book. My next one, also god-awful. The Brief One. This is another Pulitzer Prize winner. I believe it's a Pulitzer Prize winner. I actually didn't double check on that, but I'm pretty sure it is. The Brief Wondrous Life of Oscar Wilde by Junot Diaz. This is, again, I liked the voice because it felt authentic and fresh, and well, not that the road felt authentic and fresh, but it was interesting for me in that way. But so was The Brief Wondrous Life of Oscar Wilde, and then I realized this is also very misogynist, and I really hated all the, like, how Junot Diaz was showing off so much, his literary skills. I mean, there's a lot to hate about this book, honestly. I really hated how he would point at all the sort of literary tricks he was using to tell his story in The Brief Wondrous Life of Oscar Wilde, and I just, yeah, I despise this book as well. It's insulting to the reader, and it's actually garbage on the page. So there's that. There's a lot to say, and I hate it. Okay, so let's talk about another book I also hate. For number 8, I sort of wrote these out of order, but that's okay. I think this is the last book that I didn't like, so no need to worry. We will talk about good books soon. Everyman by Philip Roth. This is the only Philip Roth book I've ever read. Probably the only one I ever will read. It is disgusting. It is horrendous. It is a terrible, terrible book. Now, I'm willing to admit that maybe some of his other books are better, but to me it seemed like misogynist, writing from an old man, writing about an old man, or a middle-aged man, an old man, looking back on his past and thinking of all the girls he could have had. There's a particular moment where the main character is fondly remembering this Danish model and her rear end, and the balloon knot, we'll say. I wonder why that needed to be printed, other than it being perverse and stupid. It is truly an offensive book. And it's not that I'm a prude or anything. It's just, it's so grotesque in its male ego. We'll put it that way. Hate that book. Despise it. Terrible. All 3 of those books are god-awful. And the recommendation of any of those 3 will have all the gods smiting you. So there's that. Be wary of that. Now let's talk about books okay, well, there's also Never Let Me Go by Kazuo Ishiguro, who I do like this author. Never Let Me Go is okay. It's sort of a mystery love story with these clones, if I remember right. And I think I just spoiled the the twist and the mystery of it all. But it's about this boarding school in England, and I don't remember it that well. I do like another book of this author's, but this book is fine. You know, I think he has much better books. The Remains of the Day, for example. I really love that book. He's an interesting author in how he slowly reveals his plots and stories. I don't think he does it as well in this one, or as he does in some other ones. Especially Remains of the Day, which is my favorite of his, but Never Let Me Go, it's very popular, and I did read it, and it's okay. It wasn't for me compared to some of his other work. Okay, so that was my fourth book. Let's see, I wrote these out of order, as you can see. Oh, don't look at that. Anyway, I've got something special for Poetry Thursday written down on there, my own poem. Anyway, the next book, all these books I like. The next book is Coraline by Neil Gaiman. I'm reading that with a class of mine, and you know, it's really good fun. So a bunch of girls, really sweet angels, and they're afraid of scary stories, except one girl, and yeah, we're having fun discussing that, and also discussing how to write our own story, and you know, these kind of things. Really good, scary kids book, I guess. I don't find it scary, but I see elements of it that can scare the kids, and you know, talking with them about what scares them in their real life and what parallels they make with Coraline in terms of what is scary to them, and how can they relate to her, and these kind of things. I really like Coraline. I think it's a fun book. So yeah, there's that. Let's talk about Lincoln in the Bardo by George Saunders. A really strange style book that's like, you know, full of these quotes in a way that tell the story. Some are real, some are not, some are just the characters talking. And it's about Lincoln, President Lincoln, and his son Willie Lincoln, who died tragically at a very young age. And yeah, it's got this, it is such a strange book, especially at the end. It's very empathetic in a way, which I really like, and very tender in some ways. There are some aspects of it where I can see where it wouldn't work for some people, especially the style. It is not like any book you have read if you haven't read it, but I really enjoy it. I really like George Saunders. He's a fantastic short story writer, and I would have included the 10th of December short story collection on here, but I didn't, because I didn't want to sort of break the mold of talking about novels. And there's that, but 10th of December, also excellent. Lincoln in the Bardo, also excellent. Well, yeah, I love that book. So, as much as I love 10th of December. Moving on, yes, I talked about that, talked about that. Okay, yeah, so here's another one. This one actually is sort of in the middle for me as well. The Book Thief by Markus Zusak. I think I didn't write his name down. It's been a long time since I've read it, but I believe it did come out this century. I hope it did, otherwise I have failed miserably. It's told from the perspective of death during World War II, and it's about this girl. She's the book thief. It has some really interesting descriptions in it from Death's perspective about this horrifying, just devastating travesty of the Holocaust and this whole time period. Yeah, it's alright. I guess I like it enough. Far better than The Road and The Brief Wondrous Life of Oscar Wilde and Everyman. Those three books are like the worst books I've ever read in my life. Even though I did like The Road when I first read it, once I started thinking about it, I realized I actually really hate that book. Anyway, same with Brief Wondrous Life of Oscar Wilde. I actually really liked it when I first read it, and then I hated it. Everyman, I despised it. Every single word. I don't know why I finished it. Anyway, next book, a really fun book, Tarkin by James Luceno, came out, I don't know, 10 years ago or something. Before Star Wars was bought by Disney, if I remember right. I don't know exactly when, but it talks about Grand Moff Tarkin, and he is an interesting guy. Just his whole story, his backstory, how he grew to be so hardened and like calculating and cold, and it was really fun. And it's, you know, the triumvirate of Tarkin and Darth Vader and Darth Sidious and their whole relationship, and it's like a there's a fun dynamic between Darth Vader and Tarkin because they are very different people, and you know, Emperor Palpatine is his own person, and it's really good fun. I could have also added Darth Plagueis, which, if I remember right, is also by James Luceno. Maybe I'm wrong. I think it is. But again, I wanted to try and have different aspects to this, so you could have as many available options to connect to what I'm talking about. Maybe, you know, just Star Wars novels, you could do this yourself in that direction. Anyway, yeah, Tarkin, James Luceno, really good book to expand on the Star Wars universe. I love it. Let's see. Yes. Okay, we are down to the last two, and this book I read recently, Mexican Gothic by Sylvia Moreno-Garcia, a haunted house sort of story set in 1950s Mexico. Really cool, very gothic, about the socialite that goes to check in on her cousin who's married into this family, and she gets a message, a letter from her cousin to say, get me out of here. And then she has to explore this whole thing. There's some interesting thematic elements with an Ouroboros and these mushrooms and fungi and, you know, all these different elements that I think Sylvia Moreno-Garcia uses in a fun way. It is, I believe she said in an interview, trashy and classy, and yeah, it's good fun. I love it. And then my connection to Steve Donahue's video is Two Boys Kissing by David Levithan. It's his number one, and it's my number one. This book is incredible. It's one of the first videos I made. Actually, I think it's the first video I ever made on BookTube to talk about this book. It has it's one of my most viewed videos because it's also one of my first. And I can see that people were looking up Two Boys Kissing, and you can see in my thumbnail it's myself mirrored, so it looks like I'm gonna kiss myself. That video has like 15 seconds watched for the 200, 300 people that have watched it. On average, people watch it for 15 seconds when they realize I'm not actually going to kiss myself. That aside, and no boys are going to kiss each other in the video either, because it's just me, and I can only do that Okay? Anyway, I guess don't touch your face like I just did, but I live in China. No virus here, really. I mean, as far as we know, I suppose, but if you're in America, please don't touch your face. Anyway, let's talk about the book. Yeah, two boys kissing. It is told from the perspective of a gay Greek chorus of men that died during the AIDS epidemic and never got to experience the kind of lives that modern day gay teens, in this case, got to live, which is a lot more open and accepting. Not to say that these kids do not have their struggles with their families, with people outside of their families, with, you know, within their community. Of course they do. There's still prejudice there, but it is just so, like I said with George Saunders' book, it's very tender in its depiction of all this ensemble of characters who all go through different struggles as gay people. There's an Asian, I believe a Korean American gay teen character who struggles with his family. There's these two boys kissing who are trying to break the record, which is based on a real event, for the longest kiss held. And oh my gosh, this has gone on so long. I'll finish up. There's a transgender boy, and some other different facets of the gay experience. And again, it's all told from the perspective of a gay dead Greek tragedy, Greek chorus, in this sort of tragic way. Yeah, that is my favorite book of the century. It is just a monument to behold, in a way. Like, it is incredible that it works so well, despite being so easy to get maybe get wrong, or just make it to the point where it doesn't really work because it feels like it's, I don't know, just pandering in some way. But it, you know, it explores these lives so well, and even the narration style, which could have gone so horribly wrong. That's the part that I think could have been horribly wrong, but it's so beautiful. It's such a beautiful book. I love it, and yeah, definitely my favorite book of the century. Gonna be hard to beat, but I believe it can happen. But it's probably, gonna be up there for a while. Anyway, thank you. Anyone that sees this is tagged, and have a good day.